Hi, welcome to Crime Clueless. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
I'm Lara.
And I'm Krista.
How are we doing today?
Doing good.
Good.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Excited for a new story.
Yes, I have a truly baffling one. It will remind you of some of the other ones that we've covered. It's
baffling. So you mean it's an unsolved one? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yeah.
Oh, called it. I know you're
my tell or my
yeah.
the way I suggest it.
Yes.
But this is one that I heard for the first time a long time ago, and I always go back to it to see if there's any updates, and I wanted to share it with you guys.
We can watch too.
Yes.
Yep.
Everyone keep an eye out for the answer. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, like we always say, the more people that know,
Mhm.
someone out there knows something,
That's
the more you share it, the more
yes.
to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Right. This took place in June 2011. So not that long ago, but also all of a sudden, almost 15 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
I know, right?
Oh.
So it happened in Bloomington, Indiana. This is the disappearance of Lauren Spierer. Let's talk about who Lauren was. She was born on January 17th, 1991. She grew up in the town of Scarsdale, New York. Her parents, Charlene and Robert, raised her in a loving family. Her dad is an accountant, and by all reports, they were a tight-knit bunch. Lauren graduated from Edgemont High School in 2009 and went off to Indiana University for college. At IU, she was studying textile merchandising, which is fashion business. She was active in her campus Catholic community. Friends would later say that Lauren was the kind of person who had an infectious energy. One friend reminisced about her smile, her pep, and her zest for life. Lauren could light up a room. She was also tiny in stature. She was only 4'11" and around 95 pounds. She had blonde hair and blue eyes. She was this petite young woman with a big personality. Interestingly, Lauren's social circle at IU included people she'd known from before college. She met her longtime boyfriend, a man named Jesse, and her friend Jay years earlier at a summer camp in Pennsylvania. When they went to IU, she already had in this built-in group of friends from that camp, which is how she ended up hanging out with the people in the story that we'll go through. Like many college sophomores, Lauren balanced academics with an active social life. She wasn't a total wild child, but she did enjoy going out with friends. In fact, a year before she went missing, Lauren did have a minor run-in with the law for public intoxication. Nothing crazy, just a college kid who had a bit too much on one occasion. I mention it because it shows that Lauren is no stranger to partying. She was a responsible person, but she also liked to have fun. And sometimes that fun maybe involved alcohol. So, Lauren, beloved daughter, friend, vibrant 20-year-old, enjoying college life. By early summer 2011, she'd just finished her sophomore year. She stayed in Bloomington for a summer session or the break. And on the night of June 2nd, 2011, she's doing what a lot of college kids do, going out for a good time. Unfortunately, that ordinary night would turn into a mystery that still haunts everyone who knew her. Let's walk through that fateful night step by step because the timeline is crucial here. And there's actually a lot of CCTV, security cameras, door swipes, things like that give us a pretty good timeline for the night. So it's late on Thursday, June 2nd, and we're going into the early hours of Friday, June 3rd. Summer in a college town means the party vibes are still strong. People stay for work, jobs, summer sessions, whatever the case may be. Around 12:30 a.m., Lauren leaves her apartment in a building called Smallwood Plaza with a friend named David. They head to Jay's apartment, which is her friend from before. It's really close by. A bunch of students had gathered at his place that night, presumably for some pre-partying, pre-gaming, whatever the case may be. He had 2 friends in town from out of town. They didn't live in that college town, so it makes sense, that he would have friends over to meet them or to kind of chill at his place before going out. There was plenty of alcohol around, as later noted by investigators. It's at Jay's apartment that Lauren meets up with another friend of a friend, a guy named Corey. Corey was Jay's neighbor. Reportedly, his door was only about 30 feet down the hall from Jay's, so very close. Lauren had only met him recently, about a week earlier at the Indy 500 race over Memorial Day weekend. So not a total stranger, but not a longtime pal either. And, you remember being in college and meeting someone, it's like instant building that friend circle. You feel like if they know your friends, you know them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to build the same way, I feel like. So at Jay's place, everyone's drinking, having fun. Sometime after 1 a.m., Lauren and Corey decide to go to a popular campus bar called Kilroy's Sports Bar. We have a friend who went to college at IU, and I asked about Kilroy's Sports Bar. He said he spent at least 1,000 hours there. And I was asking about the ID thing, and he said it was definitely 21 and older. So my guess is that Lauren must have had a fake ID to get in because she's still 20. It was a pretty typical spot for IU students, which our friend confirmed. At 1:46 a.m., so she went to Jay's at 12:30, stayed for a while, then they're walking to this, and it's within walking distance. It's pretty close. Surveillance cameras catch Lauren and Corey walking into Kilroy's bar. And I thought with the ID, because I did see in some reports that maybe the bar was 18 plus, but then you just had to be 21 to buy alcohol. But it seems like it was 21 and up. But once you're in, you don't, have to show that again.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't exactly know what she got when they were in there. But it is also in some reports that the bar got in a little bit of trouble after for letting in underage patrons.
Yeah.
Once inside, the party continues. There's a sand-covered patio area, like a faux beach setup. People often kick off their shoes, play in the sand. Lauren did exactly that. She took off her shoes to hang out, in this sandy area. About 45 minutes later, at 2:27 a.m., cameras show Lauren exiting the bar with Corey. She did leave her shoes behind that she had taken off, and also her cell phone.
Oh, no.
Yep. She walked out barefoot, carrying this small purse, and she might not have even realized her phone was missing. She might have thought that it was...
In her purse?
Yep, because she did have that with her.
I wonder why she left her shoes.
It is said that her feet were kind of wet and sandy, so she didn't want to put her shoes back on. And I don't know if she just had had a few drinks and forgot to grab them.
Oh, maybe.
And was planning to walk barefoot, so it didn't really occur to her. Or, once she got out, maybe it was closing, she couldn't get back in.
She could have also left her phone with her shoes. And then when they walked out, she just walked out with the purse, planning just to carry them. So then you wouldn't really notice that you don't have them, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. She was planning to be barefoot. She didn't want to put sandy, wet feet in shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's 2:30 in the morning. Not exactly ideal conditions, to walk home barefoot. But after a few drinks, a lot of times you don't always make the best decisions. Lauren was very intoxicated by all accounts, and Corey was reportedly pretty intoxicated as well. Corey walks Lauren back towards her place. By about 2:30 a.m., they arrive at Smallwood Plaza, so really 3 minutes after. It's very close. They're seen on security footage entering the building. One resident, a young man named Zachary, happens to see Lauren in the hallway and notices that she is extremely drunk, like struggling to stay upright. He asks if she's okay. And here's where things get a little chaotic. According to later accounts from investigators and from Lauren's family, Zach wasn't just, innocently checking. He is upset at the situation. He saw that she's very impaired and basically turns to Corey and is like, dude, what are you doing? She's in no condition to be out partying still. You need to put her in her apartment and let her go sleep it off. I guess Corey, also drunk, didn't like being told what to do. They have a confrontation. It escalates to the point that Zachary punches Corey in the face, knocking him down. And this was caught at least partially on security footage in the 5th floor hallway of Smallwood, which was Lauren's floor. The punch is significant for a couple of reasons. One, it possibly gave Corey a mild concussion, or at least a fuzzy memory of that night. And two, it shows, that other people were trying to intervene or could very clearly see that she had had too much, and when you're 4'11" and 95 pounds, it wouldn't take that much.
Yeah.
So, and when she's out with a guy, if she's keeping up, or every time he's getting one for him, he's getting one for her, or vice versa,
Mhm.
she just can't have as much as he can. So instead of, and they were on her floor, but instead of taking her to her apartment, saying goodnight, and for whatever reason, and this is one of the parts that's unclear, that did not happen, about 10 minutes after the fight, so roughly 2:40 a.m., Lauren and Corey leave Smallwood Plaza together again. Despite the punch, despite being right there, and maybe the only thing I can think of is she's like, well, let's go put you at home because you've been punched, and go get you an ice pack or whatever the case may be.
If they're also intoxicated, you're just not making the best decisions.
Yep.
And sounds like they're very intoxicated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it would have made sense if he needed an ice pack or something just to go to her room and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless she didn't have one, or her ice maker was broken, or,
Yeah.
whatever.
got a bag of peas from your freezer.
Yeah,
Works
anything.
too.
Totally. It's not entirely clear. You can guess, but we don't know the exact reason. And it could even be that Lauren insisted on going out again. Maybe she still feels good. And even if she's clearly intoxicated, she may not be realizing that.
Mhm.
They walk out and they go through an alley that runs between College Avenue and Morton Street, which could be a shortcut between her place and his place. Security cameras from nearby buildings catch glimpses of them in this alley around 2:48 to 2:50 a.m. One camera reportedly, and a lot of this has never been released. And so it's either coming from police reports or news reports. But even the news reports, I'm not entirely sure how they've got the information, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
They do report that it sees Lauren stumbling through the alley. While they're in the alley, apparently Lauren falls twice, and she's so inebriated that she doesn't catch herself even, and she ends up getting a bruise on her face.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. She, in that one of the falls, drops her small purse and her keys, which are later found in that alleyway on the ground by investigators. So she falls, doesn't pick it up with her, and keeps going. So at this point, she has no phone, no shoes. And that's another thing. They might have been heading to her apartment to get her different shoes, planning to pick her shoes up from the bar the next day. But I guess they didn't do that. Maybe they forgot. But she has no phone, no shoes, no purse, and no keys. It's like a checklist of everything you don't want to lose on a night out.
Yeah.
A witness would later recall seeing a young woman matching Lauren's description, barefoot and falling in the alley around that time. It's also reported that at one point, Corey picked Lauren up and like put her over his shoulder in like a fireman carry style because she had fallen or tripped multiple times. And I don't know if that's from not having her shoes or what that was, or if they were just joking and laughing and hanging out, you know? Later, she gets asked how she got the bruise on her face, and she doesn't even know she had a bruise. So that gives you an idea of how intoxicated she was.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. So they go to Corey's apartment complex, which is called 5 North Townhomes. It's at the intersection of 11th Street and Morton Street. It's only a couple blocks from Lauren's place. And like we mentioned, right next to Jay's apartment where the night began. They reach Corey's around 3 a.m., give or take. There are no security cameras here to give an exact time. They go to Corey's apartment, and his roommate, Mike, is at home, reportedly working on a school assignment. Corey and Lauren arrive. Corey's in pretty bad shape. He's drunk. He's been punched in the face. His adrenaline is probably crashing. And as soon as they get inside, and I saw 2 reports, one says that Corey threw up on the cement steps leading up to the house. The other thing I saw was that he threw up on the carpeted stairways, like right in front of their apartment. Either way, Mike sees that Corey's puked, drunk, punched in the face, you know,
All the things.
all the things. And Mike's like, all right, you're done for the night. Corey himself later claimed that he had no memory of anything after the punch at Lauren's apartment. So not helpful for the timeline.
Mhm.
Lauren's dad would later call that, quote, a story of convenience, which is fair. So Mike did put Corey to bed, and he's effectively out of the picture from this point on in our story, which leaves Lauren and Mike in Corey's apartment. Mike doesn't really know Lauren. I mean, Lauren only met Corey a week before, and he probably met her because she's good friends with Jay. They live close together, but suddenly Mike's responsible for this very intoxicated young woman that it seems like he just met. Mike's concerned for Lauren's well-being. He tries to persuade Lauren to stay the rest of the night on their couch, to sleep it off safely, you know, telling her, please just stay here. I don't want you going out barefoot in the dark. But
3 a.m.
Yeah.
exactly,
Good job,
alone,
Mike.
with
Yeah.
no purse, no keys.
Mhm.
Nothing.
Yeah. Lauren, whether she's just headstrong or not thinking straight or, you know, wants to sleep in her own bed. Maybe she knows how she's going to feel when she wakes up in the morning. I don't know. But she is insistent that she go back to her own apartment. And according to Mike, Lauren was trying to get him to come with her to her place to keep the party going. She was asking him to drink with her at her apartment. It's around 3 to 3:30 at this time, and she's, you know, wanting to party more. And Mike hadn't partying at all, so he's like the voice of reason here.
Mhm.
He's like, no, that's not a good idea. He's worried, but he doesn't want to like physically restrain her, keep her there.
He doesn't really know her either, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. By around 3:30, Mike decides that he needs some backup. He calls Jay, whose apartment they were at earlier, who's been friends with Lauren for years. And Mike says, hey, man, Lauren is here. She's super drunk. She wants to leave, but I don't think she should be alone. Can you come over and help me out with this? And like we said, Jay lives 2 doors down. Jay, who was likely awake, you know, maybe his 2 house guests were still up. It's not unheard of for college students to party much later than this. So he steps in as the next caretaker. Lauren goes over to Jay's apartment. It sounds like Mike physically walked her over there, or at least, you know, door to door. Jay had 2 friends from out of town crashing, which we had mentioned. One of them is named Clay. He's another IU student visiting that weekend. The other, I'm not sure, but it doesn't seem like they were very involved. Some reporting says that one of them had already even gone to bed. So now Lauren is with Jay and maybe one of the other visitors that was staying at Jay's place. Jay reports a few things about our time frame, so between 3:30 and 4:30. He says he noticed Lauren had a visible bruise under her eye, and that's when he asked her about it, and she had no idea where it came from, which investigators put together with her earlier fall. He said Lauren was very unsteady on her feet. Jay was concerned enough that he actually had her perform a quick sobriety test. He asked her to walk in a straight line in his apartment to see if she could. Apparently, she managed to do it to his satisfaction because he noted that she, quote, passed that impromptu test. I mean, take that with a grain of salt at 4 a.m. when everyone's been drinking.
And he's saying she's unsteady on her feet, but can pass his walk a line test.
Right.
Okay. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So Jay offered to let Lauren sleep on his couch for the night. He says he really did try to convince her to stay, but Lauren was adamant about going back to her own apartment. Before leaving Jay's, Lauren realized that she didn't have her phone. So she asked to use Jay's to make a couple of calls. Sometime around 4 a.m., 2 calls were placed from Jay's cell phone, one to David, who was the friend that she had started the night out with, and one was to another friend named Scott, who had been at an earlier get-together that evening. Both of those calls went unanswered, and I don't know if she was calling to try to find somebody else to go out with her or to come hang out, or what it was for, but she didn't leave voicemails. These calls are confirmed by phone records and have been a point of speculation. Was Lauren trying to find someone to walk her home, or was she just calling friends absentmindedly? I would be surprised, like we've talked about in other cases. It is interesting that you can remember those phone numbers, right?
Well, and the other thing too, I was thinking maybe she couldn't remember where she left her phone. So maybe she was calling them to see if they had any of her stuff, if she didn't know where it was.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
That makes
Because
sense.
she knew she had been out with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you got my phone and my wallet, my keys and my purse and my shoes.
Yeah.
Right. All my things.
Yeah.
After those calls, it sounds like Lauren was pretty intent on leaving. Jay gave a couple of variations of what happened next, which is a bit frustrating because details matter. In one account, around 4:30 a.m., he says he simply watched Lauren walk out his front door and down the hallway, calling after her to be sure, to be safe and that she was okay getting home by herself. And I do wonder if her door was just unlocked or if she had a roommate that could open it, but I would assume they would be asleep too. I'm not sure how she was planning on getting into her place without keys at 4:30.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2011, when I was in college, a lot of times our doors were just open, or we wouldn't, like, the last person home was responsible for locking it in case you
So
forgot
that
your
could
keys or
be.
something.
Yeah, or you lose them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In another telling, he said he actually went upstairs to a second floor balcony and watched her from there as she walked outside and said, "Hey, text me when you get home."
Without your phone.
When she finds her phone or using a friend's phone, I guess. Either way, Jay claims that he kept eyes on her for a bit as she left. Jay reported that he saw Lauren walking south on College Avenue, headed towards the intersection of 11th Street and College, and she's barefoot still. She had been wearing black leggings and a white top, like a white tank top with a loose white shirt over it, which it sounds like is what she'd been wearing all night, so she didn't change when they went to her place. The intersection's only about 3 blocks from her apartment. Jay says he watched her until she was out of sight. In one version, he said he saw her reach the corner of 11th and College and noted nothing unusual. But in a later recollection, he thought he might have seen a shadowy figure approaching her as she walked, like another person in the area, but he wasn't sure. And that detail kind of emerged later and has been a matter of debate. Was it memory, imagination, something else that he saw? The last confirmed sighting of Lauren was around 4:30 a.m. near that intersection, heading home. And then she vanished. Somewhere in those few blocks, in that narrow window of time before dawn, Lauren Spierer disappeared. And think about how close she was to safety, and multiple times.
Yeah.
Just a few more minutes to her apartment. It was dark. The streets were quiet. She was all alone, extremely intoxicated, without a phone or keys. It's just the scenario where something is bound to go wrong, and it certainly did. Lauren didn't show up at home or anywhere else that morning. This raised alarms pretty quickly. Later on June 3rd, which was Friday, Jesse, who was Lauren's boyfriend, woke up and noticed that he had no text or call from Lauren, which was unusual. He sent her a text message and got a reply, but not from Lauren. A bar employee had found Lauren's abandoned phone at Kilroy's and responded, letting him know where the phone was. You can imagine that sinking feeling Jesse must have had at that point. So he tried calling around to friends. Has anyone seen Lauren? It became apparent that nobody had seen her since those very early morning hours. By noon on June 3rd, Lauren was officially reported missing.
Again, that's that guilt we've talked about in other cases. They have to think, oh, if I had only made her stay, or if I had walked her home.
Yeah.
It's awful. That'd be an awful feeling.
Oh, I can't imagine.
The what ifs would hang over you forever.
Mm-hmm. Especially with no answers, like in
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
I won't even say that, because sometimes the answers are terrible too.
Yeah. That's true.
Jesse is the one that makes the report that Lauren is missing. Lauren's parents got that dreadful call and immediately flew from New York to Indiana. By June 5th, they had arrived in Bloomington to join the search for their daughter. The community rallied around them. Volunteers, hundreds of them, showed up to help look for Lauren in those first few days. They canvassed the town, handing out flyers, searching alleys, dumpsters, wooded areas, anywhere they could think of. The Indiana University campus and the city of Bloomington were blanketed with missing person posters featuring Lauren's smiling face. Social media kicked into gear too. The family or supporters started a Twitter account. It was at News on Lauren S. to spread information and updates. Her disappearance made national news very quickly. It kind of captured the country's attention, in part because of the eerie mystery of it. She just disappeared without a trace. And, frankly, partly because Lauren fit the profile of a case that the media often latch onto. Police were on the case from day one. Bloomington PD had help from IU campus police and later the FBI, and they began piecing together the timeline that we just walked through.
It's interesting to me that there were so many cameras before catching everything, but they don't see that or anything else.
And so if, somebody else did something, did they know that, or did they just get lucky?
Yeah.
I don't
know.
And I do know that there are surveillance footage, interviews, things like that the police and the FBI have held close to the chest, and some that the family hasn't even seen yet, which is interesting.
That is interesting. I wonder if there's anything about any cars in the area that they're still looking into or things like that.
There was a white truck that we will talk about. Yep.
Sorry.
No.
Jumping ahead.
I like it. But it is true. We've got to look for those things as well.
Yeah.
So detectives interviewed everyone who had seen Lauren that night multiple times. And this included Jesse, her boyfriend, who wasn't out with her, but had texted her up until she lost her phone. They interviewed David, who she started the night with, Corey, Mike, Corey's roommate, Jay, other patrons from the bar, people who were at Jay's apartment, and so on. And right away, the three young men who were last with Lauren, which would be Corey, Mike, and Jay, were kind of persons of interest simply because they were the last known people to see Lauren. And, persons of interest means they're people that police want to talk to, but it doesn't mean that the police have evidence that they did anything or were involved.
Yeah.
In those initial days, police also executed search warrants. On June 7th, for example, they searched Lauren's apartment and her whole building looking for any clues. But because there's surveillance at her apartment, they're certain that she never made it back there. They also checked the guy's apartments. In fact, we know they did some forensic tests, but nothing significant was found that's been publicly shared. The Bloomington community and beyond really mobilized. On June 8th, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, Jim Irsay, personally offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to Lauren. And the next day, Lauren's parents upped it by offering their own reward of $100,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, money can sometimes get people to talk, but sadly, no one came forward to claim those rewards with any solid information. Searchers expanded their efforts beyond the immediate campus town. Divers were sent to Lake Monroe, which is a reservoir south of Bloomington, to check the waters on June 8th. They didn't find any trace of Lauren there. They sent bloodhounds and canine units to sniff through wooded areas, fields, construction sites, etc. On June 19th, state police even searched near Martinsville, which is north, based on a tip, and Martinsville will come back into play later. They searched every single dumpster in the area, just trying to go through them before garbage collection and, to see if they could have found any evidence, maybe not even looking for her necessarily. By June 15th, about 2 weeks in, the case was still hot, but nothing concrete. Police said they had around 10 persons of interest. I mean, not suspects, but people that they were looking at and continuing to want to talk to. They didn't name them all, but I'm guessing that partly included the list of the friends that were the last to see her, and then maybe others that had popped up in tips that had come in. That same day, June 15th, police released a surveillance image of a white pickup truck that had been seen in the area around 4:30 a.m. on June 3rd. And this was intriguing. Was it a witness? Was it possibly somebody that had harmed Lauren? They asked the public to help identify the truck or its driver. To our knowledge, that specific lead never led to anything conclusive. Either the driver was found and cleared or they remain unidentified, but I'm fairly certain that they found the driver and cleared him. Also on June 15th, the police made public a surveillance photo of Lauren from earlier that night, showing what she was wearing and how she looked when she headed out. They were really trying to jog anyone's memory who might have seen her around that 4:30 a.m. time frame. Did anyone see a girl barefoot in a white top wandering around? Any drivers passing by? But frustratingly, no solid sightings came in. And that is one of the only pictures that they did release. And whether that's because there are people in, like any surveillance from the bar, the apartment buildings, they don't want to give away numbers. They don't want to make other people persons of interest in the public view and have them, run through the ringer online.
Yeah, because that can be mean.
Exactly.
You're not a part of it, and they've determined that.
Yeah. And there are one or two that her family didn't want released or ones that are really grainy. And so they've kind of gone back and forth. But really the one, and it's in her apartment building, but not in her apartment, is really the only one that is used when talking about, Lauren's disappearance. The search efforts continued heavily for the rest of June. June 25th, 2011 was the last organized large-scale search in the immediate area. After that, official searches were more targeted based on specific tips rather than blanket canvassing. By the end of that month, despite thousands of man-hours spent looking, there was no sign of Lauren. No clothing found, nothing else related to her. They didn't find her. Nothing. On August 16th, 2011, 2.5 months after she was last seen, investigators undertook a grim task. They searched the landfill where Bloomington's trash gets taken. And you can imagine what that involves. Over 9 days, crews combed through over 4,000 tons of garbage at the Sycamore Ridge landfill. And her dad just said how horrible it was to know that they were doing that and
Yeah, for
to
sure.
participate. Yeah, that's where everything would have gone from the area that Lauren was last seen in. They said it was literally searching for a needle in a haystack, but unfortunately, or fortunately, nothing was found that connected to Lauren.
They did find her purse in the alleyway, correct?
Yes, they
Okay.
found her purse and her keys.
But that was probably sooner, but
Yeah, I want to say it was the next day.
okay.
By late August 2011, Charlene and Robert, her parents, had been living out of a hotel in the area, helping coordinate searches, pleading for their daughter's return. On August 17th, they made the painful decision to leave and return home to New York. I can't imagine how
No.
hard that
So
would
hard.
be. Charlene said it was like leaving Lauren behind, which broke her heart. They weren't abandoning the search, of course. They just had to figure out how to fight from home and continue searching from home. There were no more active leads to physically chase in Indiana. So,
So hard.
uh,
It
Can't
would
even
be.
imagine.
yeah. One more note about 2011. In September, authorities actually cited Kilroy Sports Bar, which was the bar Lauren was at, for serving minors and allowing Lauren entry with a fake ID. A minor footnote in this case, but it just shows the extent of what police and detectives and investigators were doing to try to find her, looking at every angle, even the bar she was at that night. By the end of 2011, with Lauren still missing, her parents were very forthright about the likelihood that Lauren was probably no longer alive. They publicly stated that they did not think Lauren survived whatever happened, which is heartbreaking. I mean, accepting your daughter is likely gone, it just, be awful.
Yeah.
The years following saw flurries of activity whenever a new tip or lead emerged. For example, in July 2012, a skull was found on the outskirts of Indianapolis. There was a moment of dread. Could this be Lauren? The Spierers were notified, but after forensic testing, it turned out that the skull belonged to an unidentified male, not Lauren. A brief surge of hope and fear ended in, another dead end. In August 2012, police arrested a man who was lurking near Kilroy's, which is the bar we talked about, with a gun. He told police he had been watching the bar and made some reference to Lauren's case, which, of course, raised alarms. After evaluating him, authorities concluded that he was not involved in Lauren's disappearance. He was mentally unstable and fixated, but they determined he hadn't done anything to Lauren. In April 2013, skeleton remains were found in a remote area of Brown County, which is adjacent to Monroe County, where Bloomington is. For a moment, again, people wondered if this could be Lauren, but after testing, they confirmed that it was not her. And it seems like to date, none of the remains found in the region have matched Lauren, which is frustrating for investigators and her family, but also, relieving that they're not her. Through it all, police kept the investigation open and presumably are still interviewing people and following up on tips when they come in. By May 2013, so almost 2 years, they said that they had received over 3,000 tips related to Lauren's case.
Wow.
Yeah, but, unfortunately, quantity does not always equal quality.
Yeah.
So 2 years had passed with no answers by the time we got to June 2013. Lauren's parents filed a civil lawsuit in June 2013 against Corey, Mike, and Jay. The lawsuit alleged that they were negligent, basically that they failed to take care of Lauren and maybe supplied her with alcohol when she was already clearly intoxicated. And the lawsuit alleged that that led to her disappearance and presumed death. The family and their lawyers said, look, we're just doing this to get answers. maybe through like a civil discovery process, maybe hoping to get them interviewed under oath, thinking that perhaps they knew more than they were saying. They made it clear that it wasn't about money, it was about information.
I get it. I like completely understand why they're doing that. But if they have nothing to do with it, like that's, I don't know.
Especially like Mike
hard
and
on them.
Jay, who weren't
Yeah.
out with her.
Yeah.
And they were just
yeah.
like really trying to help her, but didn't maybe quite do enough. I can see with Corey because he was out with her all night, but
Mhm.
the other two, that's
Well, especially
know.
Mike. He even called Jay, her friend, and walked her to the door and like left her
like
with
he was
someone that she was
trying.
friends with. Yeah. I don't feel like he did anything wrong.
And, you know, according to all of their accounts, Corey was asleep an
Yeah.
hour before Lauren left the apartment. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe some from earlier in the night, taking her to all the different
Yeah.
bars and stuff when she's
Yeah.
underage. And
Should have left her at home when she was clearly intoxicated, but also it's probably her decision too. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
tricky. I get why they're doing it, but
Well, and that's the thing. It's how much are you supposed to force someone to do something that doesn't want to?
yeah, she's an
Versus-
adult.
Right. When do you step in and really make that decision?
yeah,
So,
hard.
yeah, the legal outcome was not in Lauren's family's favor. The friend's lawyers fought it, of course. By late 2013, a federal judge dismissed the suit against Mike, saying he didn't have a, quote, duty of care for Lauren in that situation. Essentially, the law doesn't require a person to be responsible for the safety of an adult friend, especially once she left his apartment.
And she wasn't even like his friend.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
So to be in that lawsuit, and maybe I just get the feeling that they think these three know more than they're saying, which
Yeah.
we'll talk more about in a bit. But yeah. In 2014, the judge dismissed the suit against Corey and Jay as well, stating that whatever happened to Lauren was too speculative to pin on their actions. So they don't know what happened to her. And they're saying we can't even say that something bad happened, even though she's missing,
Yeah.
but we don't know for sure. The judge noted that anything could have happened after she left. There were too many unknowns, so you can't legally prove that her intoxication, which they might have contributed to, directly led to whatever happened to her without knowing what happened, right?
Yeah, technically she could have just gotten someone's car and gone off somewhere and started a new life
Yeah.
without finding a body. You can't say that they directly caused her to have something happen, but
Right. And that's, even though no one thinks that's what happened,
yeah.
that's exactly it. It's the unknown.
mhm.
So you
Can't
can't
prove.
say, right, that harm came to her, even though you know she wouldn't just leave. You can't prove that in court, right? Her family appealed the decision, but in 2015, the dismissal of the case was upheld. It did succeed in keeping public attention on the case and in putting a bit of pressure on those three men. Through their attorneys, the men insisted that they had cooperated fully with police and even with the Spierer's private investigators. They stated that all of them had passed private polygraph tests, some administered by the FBI, some by hired polygraph examiners. They simply had declined to take police administered polygraphs, which, to be fair, they're not admissible in court, and people often lawyer up on that principle. But Lauren's family thought that it looked suspicious that none of the guys volunteered to do everything possible with police to help. But I get it. And the fact that they took other polygraphs, I feel like should carry some weight, essentially.
Yeah.
The family has never outright accused them of harming Lauren, but they've strongly hinted that they think these young men know more than what they are saying. Lauren's mother, Charlene, said in an interview, "I truly don't think it was a random abduction. I think that somebody that Lauren knew was responsible for the events of that evening." So, a polite way of indicating suspicion towards the last people who saw her. Her father, Robert, has outright said he is, quote, not convinced Lauren ever left that apartment complex alive.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So he thinks that something happened.
I thought that there were cameras that caught her on the corner. No,
Mm-mm.
it was just cameras from earlier in the night.
Yeah.
When she was with Corey. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It's weird that there's like so many cameras from earlier in the night and then none from her leaving to that corner.
Yep.
Right. And
Kinda
it's
weird.
like on the floors in some of the buildings, right? But not all of them.
Weird.
Uh-huh.
It also could be that the police just never released it either.
Which is also true because they haven't released a lot of the images or surveillance,
Mhm.
for the reasons that we talked about. But
Kind of feel like the family would know that though if there was a picture of her, do you think, at that corner?
Not always.
I mean, yes, this much later, I feel like they would know, she got out of the apartment because we have surveillance of her here.
Yeah.
So let's focus our energy and our resources not on these three.
Well, especially like at an intersection.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there would be cameras there unless she never made it to that intersection.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Jay said he saw her leave and he said he saw her get to that corner, but maybe she didn't get close enough to get picked up by a camera.
Also possible.
Who knows?
Right.
It also was 4 a.m. and like he probably had been drinking a little bit too. And just like, he's like, oh yeah, I saw her on the street. Could have even not have been her. Could have been someone else.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because his story changed a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
It did. And partly, if you're drinking, you probably wouldn't remember all of the details and maybe have to think back through or,
Or like, oh yeah, I did call out to her, but like, I don't know. Could have
Mhm.
not been her.
Right. So Lauren has something called long QT syndrome, which is a rare heart condition. And that can be made much worse with drinking. They also, in some reporting, say that they found a tiny bit of cocaine in her apartment. And there has been other allegations of other types of drug use. And so one of the theories that her family has put forward is that, maybe she was experimenting with some of those things and drinking heavily. If she fell down and hit her head, even, vomited while laying down,
Mm-hmm.
she could have aspirated or, choked to death, something. And in their drunken state or inebriated state or whatever, might have panicked and hit the body instead of calling it in.
Yeah.
So they're not even necessarily saying that the boys were responsible intentionally for her death, but part of what they're saying, when they're saying they know more than they're saying or that she didn't leave the apartment is that something like that could have happened and they covered it up instead of coming forward.
That's interesting.
I don't know, but police have never named them as suspects. And in fact, the official stance is that there is no evidence to charge anyone at all in Lauren's disappearance. It remains a mystery. In April 2015, a case frighteningly similar to Lauren's made headlines and immediately drew comparisons. Another IU student, her name was Hannah, went missing after a night out at Kilroy's, the same bar. She was last seen getting into a taxi after leaving the bar. Tragically, Hannah's body was found the next day in the outskirts of Brown County. She had been murdered, bludgeoned to death. Police quickly arrested a 49-year-old local man named Daniel Messel for Hannah's murder after finding his cell phone near her body.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It turned out Messel was a stranger who likely targeted Hannah as she left the bar. He killed her and left her body there. So people asked, could this be the same person that took Lauren? The coincidence was eerie. Same university, same bar, young female victims, and Mussel was definitely active in the area. Bloomington police did investigate a possible link if he had snatched Lauren back in 2011, but hid her body better, not leaving his cell phone.
Yeah.
It could explain a lot. In July 2015, however, authorities announced that they found no evidence connecting Mussel to Lauren's case, and they considered any similarities to be coincidental.
How do you decide that though 4 years later?
I don't know, unless you've got
Alibi or something?
some sort of evidence of not being in the area,
Yeah.
but at 4:30 in the
Interesting.
morning, I don't know.
Unless he was out of town or something like that.
Yep. In 2016, Mussel was convicted of Hannah's murder and sent to prison. So if he did know something about Lauren, he never confessed to it or told officials anything. But a Brown County prosecutor did muse that Lauren had been in the danger zone of Mussel that night. They said Mussel lived not far from Bloomington and had a history of violence. But without physical evidence or any confession tying him to June 3rd, 2011, it just remains this uneasy theory. In January 2016, the case made news again. Acting on a tip, the FBI, Bloomington Police, and other agencies raided a property in Martinsville, Indiana, which is about 20 miles away, in connection with Lauren's disappearance. The property was owned by the family of Justin Wagers, who is a man with a record of sex offenses, exposing himself to women. The tip that came in sounded promising enough, and it seems like there was a rumor that he had something to do with Lauren, but more like a small town rumor like that as opposed to verified. Investigators searched the property thoroughly. Cadaver dogs were brought in, and they signaled possible traces of human remains in a barn on the property. This was enough to bring in forensic anthropologists to excavate and sift through the soil there. They spent a good amount of time digging. They also towed away a white truck from the property. Interestingly, it was a white pickup that belonged to them. And we do know that that white truck was spotted on camera back when Lauren vanished.
Was it the same? They can't really tell.
I can't really tell. I guess there's a picture of the white truck from the front. The headlights are really bright, which made it hard to see the license plate and the exact details. But I guess it seemed like it could be the same. After an extensive search, though, nothing of significance was found. The digs didn't turn up any human remains, and they said the cadaver dogs alerts could just be from animals or just mistaken. The man that owns the barn and the property was not charged with anything related to Lauren. The authorities didn't even publicly detail what the tip was, only that they were following a lead. That was in 2016. Since then, there haven't been any big publicly known developments or searches in Lauren's case, at least not reported in the news. Bloomington police put out statements on significant anniversaries. They haven't forgotten Lauren, and they continue to receive tips. As of 2020, the 9-year mark, they had over 3,500 tips in total, but still no clues, no resolution. They do not consider it a cold case. It's open, but realistically, the flurries of activity have become fewer and farther between. And that's where the investigation stands, unsolved with no arrests, no confirmed sightings, and no remains found. Almost as if Lauren walked off into the darkness and the universe just swallowed her up. I mean, really, nothing. No good clues, nothing found of hers. It is awful. When a case, goes unsolved for this long, theories abound. Of course. Several main theories have emerged about what happened to Lauren in those early morning hours. We can go through the big ones, but to be very, very clear, these are speculations. There's nothing that points to what actually happened to her from police reports or case files or anything. The first one is some sort of accidental overdose or injury, which we talked about, either related to that medical issue or just a bad combination of some sort of drug alcohol interaction, overdose, something.
Well, and that syndrome can cause like fainting, palpitations, seizures, things like that. So that could have happened and something,
Right.
from that.
So with that one, it would be that those three would have to know something, because if that happened after she left, they would have found her,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the things that can come from that, like you mentioned, really make sense that too much or mixing, alcohol with cocaine and I'm not saying that she took that or anything, but we do know that she was extremely intoxicated. And it has been reported that maybe had some kind of anti-anxiety pill like Klonopin in addition to drinking. And, that combination is especially dangerous. But you would think if one of them knew that, somebody would have said something.
Mm-hmm.
But that is one of the most talked about theories. Supporters of this theory point out how these three men behaved after Lauren's disappearance. They point out that they did lawyer up quickly and they didn't volunteer to speak to media or the public. So the public then says that's knowledge of guilt. I don't necessarily agree. I feel like that's what we say in the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
There were inconsistencies in their accounts of that night. Mike and Jay's stories didn't perfectly align on how Lauren got from one place to the next or what exactly happened between 3:30 and 4:30. And, Corey can't remember what happened after he was punched at her apartment. So if someone were cynical, they could say that they're covering something up with that. Also, the logistics of Lauren had died in the apartment or accidentally fallen. Something happened in that brief window. They did have some time to do something before sunrise. And again, I have a hard time believing that college guys could cover that up and keep it quiet for that long. But
Yeah.
I assume
still.
as well that they probably searched their apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what do you find, because she
that's
was in both of them. Like, they're not saying she was never here.
Yeah.
And so.
And she didn't have anything really to leave behind.
Yeah.
She had already lost her stuff.
Yeah. I was thinking like if she had blood in there, something,
yeah.
you would find that.
Yes.
They wouldn't really
right.
be able to clean that up. I
Well,
would
and
think.
you said Mike hadn't been out partying either. So it
Mhm.
wasn't that he doesn't remember,
Mhm.
Right.
and
Right.
Jay sounds like he was, and Corey obviously was.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make sense if they had all been out partying as hard as she had been, and Corey, if something did happen and they don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Mike wasn't. So it would seem if something did happen, he would at least be able to remember.
Right.
Yes.
And call and
Yeah,
report it. Like,
be in a good frame of mind to not be,
Mhm.
oh, this happened. We should just hide it.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if they didn't do something and it was an accident, you would think that they would call the police
Mm-hmm.
rather than hiding it if someone is in a better frame of mind than maybe
Right.
someone who's passed out drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Agreed.
especially if they did know she had that condition and might know that it would be something related to that. Like, I feel like you would call
Mhm.
for help instead of panicking.
And they might not
Right.
have known
That's true.
because if they weren't,
necessarily,
Jay
yeah.
might have known, but if she didn't openly talk about it to people,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but just if like something had happened to her,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
One interesting thing is that there was a lot of construction in the area around where they lived. They had large dumpsters for the construction, but they were also digging holes. And some of those holes were filled in with concrete the very next morning
Oh,
on June 3rd. And so that aspect gets pulled into a lot of the other theories about what might have happened, that someone knew they were getting filled in, not necessarily those three, but someone else. And if they did do something to Lauren, putting her there where it got filled in would really make it very difficult to ever find her.
mm-hmm.
I want to say around 6 a.m. is when they started pouring it. I mean, it's a very tight window, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. And that wouldn't have given anybody time to search that area.
Right. I mean, before she was even reported missing.
Yeah.
Because her boyfriend didn't call till like noon or even a little bit later. Back to the three, the skeptics, of saying they were involved are saying, would college kids really be able to hide a body and keep that secret forever? It seems pretty extreme. Most people, even if scared, would call 911 if a friend isn't breathing. You might get a slap on the wrist if there were drugs involved, but you wouldn't be charged with murder if it truly was an accident. From the perspective of Lauren's parents, they absolutely suspect that the last people with Lauren know more than they've said. Like I said, they haven't quite outright accused them, but, her dad has said he doesn't believe that Corey doesn't remember, found that convenient. He's also mentioned that he doesn't think that she ever made it out of that apartment. And I don't know what that's based on, just parents' intuition or whatever. He knows that others don't.
Yeah.
But that has come from them. The lawyers for those three maintain that they've cooperated fully and that they also want answers about what happened to their friend, but they don't have them themselves. That's kind of that theory. The second theory is a stranger abduction. As she's walking away, did she cross paths with a predator, a total stranger perhaps? Essentially, this is the scenario that her friend Jay has leaned on. He thinks that after Lauren left, something bad happened to her out there in between his place and her place. She was very vulnerable at 4:30 a.m., alone, barefoot, intoxicated. And she's tiny, 4'11", 95 pounds.
Yeah.
A former FBI agent commenting on the case said she was certainly a, quote, easy target for someone looking to commit a crime.
That's why I always see the quote, I'm eating cake because no one's going to carry me away.
Right. She's tiny.
Yeah.
The blocks between Jay's place and her apartment were dark and mostly empty at this hour. I mean, it's a college town, but by 4:30 to 5, the parties have wound down. Sun's about to come up. It's just that very dark before dawn time. Someone driving around or walking with bad intent could have done something.
Yeah.
There was, in fact, a report from a neighborhood witness that they heard a woman scream around 4:15 to 4:30 in that area. Now, digging into that more, a unhoused man that lived in that area that was well known is the one that reported that he heard a woman scream around that time on that night.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually found dead a couple days later.
Oh.
Yeah. And while I can't find how he was killed,
He was killed and didn't
or
die?
or how he died.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. They did say that they found his body in a dumpster.
Oh.
And so I don't know. I wish that I could find more of those details, but it is really scary to think about, if he heard something.
Or could have seen
Exactly.
someone thought he saw something.
Mm-hmm. And there's a building that was made that's for unhoused people in the area, and they did name it after him. And they said it would have been a place that could have helped him if it had been there, but a nice way to honor him.
Mm-hmm.
But
Did they put out that he was the one who made that
That I'm not sure of when that information got out, or if he was just talking to other people and it circulated to the wrong person, or if it was just a very bad coincidence.
Yeah.
But it is scary.
That is very sketchy.
Yeah. We talked about, the white truck. Another part of this is that Israel Keys, who was a serial killer who operated, for almost 15 years, he wasn't caught until very early in 2013. And it's actually unknown how many victims he had. And a big thing with Israel Keys is that he traveled a lot. He had family in various places of the country. He worked construction a lot of the time. And when he would finish a job, he would go take a trip. And he is one of the scariest, I think, that I've ever researched. He was actually in Indiana on June 2nd
Oh.
and June 3rd. They have toll receipts. They actually have tried to put together all of his travels along with missing or murdered people to see what connections. And he would a lot of times search missing, or he would also search the people that he had killed. And he would throw his computer in the dumpsters so they don't have all of his searches.
Mm.
Maybe one day, maybe. But there's a great podcast on Israel Keys called True Crime Bullshit. And they did do an episode seeing about tying him to Lauren's case, since the timing is just really
Suspicious.
Yeah. A lot of times it was opportunity. It wasn't, he didn't have a specific profile. It didn't have to be, a woman or a man. It didn't have to be a certain age. It was convenience.
I don't like that.
Nope. He is terrifying. He made it to Vermont, which is where he was headed on June 8th, but he was in the area. The FBI have publicly said that they don't believe he was involved in Lauren's case, but while he was in prison, he completed suicide. He never went to trial. They never got to finish interviewing him, and all of his secrets taken with him.
Oh, that's awful.
And a lot of his victims are either never found or never tied to him unless it's through other ways. So that one has been on my mind as well, prior to even specifically deep researching Lauren's case. But just him being in the area.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. He was actually in Logan when I was in Logan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
I know. When I heard that, I was like, wait, what? And that's when he was active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. Over the years, there have been jailhouse rumors. For example, an inmate told a story that a man bragged about killing Lauren and putting her in a lake. They've checked out the ones that come in. That one they said is not credible. There have been online speculations about other strangers, but again, nothing that has truly brought anything to light. There's the theory that it was just an accident or a misadventure, and again, to never find any proof of what happened to her or find anything related to her seems really crazy. Like, it wouldn't just be that she hit her head and fell, because they would have found her.
I'm sorry. I know we talked about this. Did you say that they were filling in holes on the street?
Like they were building buildings.
Okay.
And so they had like really big foundational holes that were filled in with concrete. And so
was that by where she was walking? Like, could she have
kind of
fallen into that?
It doesn't sound like that's a theory that's put out, but I suppose anything is possible. If she really didn't want to go home, she decided to go sit over there to watch the sunrise,
Fell?
and fell, or maybe passed out and fell and then
Yeah.
it's filled in. I mean, really, when you have no clues,
Yeah.
it could be anything.
I kept thinking about that and I was like, where were those? Could it have been something that was an accident that she
I mean, it
fell
could have been.
into?
She could have decided, I don't want to go home. I'm still feeling good. I don't know. I'm not tired.
Yeah.
I mean, she could have been
Absolutely.
thinking about her phone too and been like, oh, I'll just wander back over and get it and have gone past that place. I don't know. But
Yeah.
Where it was in relation. Even if she thought, I'll just hang out here until they
Mhm.
open, or I'll
Yeah.
kind
Really.
of wander around and see if I can find anything else.
Yeah.
Right. And depending on if she had taken something, especially something like cocaine, if she had more, and I'm not saying that she did, but that's going to keep you awake,
Yeah.
even with drinking, right? Not for sure, but sometimes.
Yeah. So that's I
Yeah.
was wondering about that because if they didn't see, they didn't notice. And
Hmm.
I wonder where that was, how close that was to where she was walking.
We can look at a map to see exactly where those were. They said, really close by.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not sure which side, like if it would have been on her walk or if it was the opposite way.
Yeah.
So we'll look
That's an
that up.
interesting thought too.
It is.
Because if that was something and she decided to go walk around there and had
Mhm.
an accident.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and also there are train tracks around there. So some have posited that she could have been hit. But again,
Would have
the
found
driver would have
her.
known and you would have found her.
Yeah.
There were creeks and water and things like that people have suggested she could have fallen into. But again, with no,
Yeah.
and maybe you can miss it, but there was wooded areas around there. They're wondering if there's some well hidden spot that
Yeah.
either foul play or not, where they just haven't found her, which is awful.
Yeah.
I mean, they spent a long time doing massive searches, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's weird to me. I keep thinking about the barn where the cadaver dogs alerted and they didn't find anything.
Hmm.
That and the white truck there, that one
Right.
seems odd to me.
I agree. It doesn't sound like he's been charged with anything, what's the word, like hurting another person. I mean, obviously, it would cause distress if he's exposing himself, but it
Yeah.
I didn't see that he was charged with anything.
Like assault or
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Well, and I wonder too if they did alert to something there, if he knew that they were coming to search his property, if he could have moved her.
Sure.
He could have dug her up and moved her. And maybe that's why they didn't find anything.
Yeah.
why they were alerted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that white truck was said to have been circling for a while around that area,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah. I'm just reviewing all your theories, what I
Yeah.
think about it, things I've been thinking about while we're talking,
Right.
I wonder if they go back, if they would find something else, if he had moved her and then
Hmm.
brought it back and hit her because they didn't find anything there.
Right.
I don't
mean,
know.
That white truck also could have been looking to do something nefarious, but also he could have accidentally hit her
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
she died and he took her home and buried her or something, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's possible too.
if he was like out looking for people who were intoxicated or something and just happened to,
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I feel like if you're planning on doing something illegal or hurtful or something and an accident happens, you're more likely to try to cover it up.
Well, and he already has like a history
Yeah.
Right.
being in
So,
trouble with
Yeah.
the law. So
You're going to try to keep that
Yeah.
out of, yeah.
even if it was an accident, maybe he's
Right.
more likely to hide it because
Yeah.
you already
Yeah.
have that history.
Right. That definitely is possible. I would love to know what else investigators and detectives know
Yeah.
that they haven't shared. But I mean,
Maybe one day.
yeah. As of today, we've got no crime scene, no blood, no body, no definitive evidence. And without her phone being on her, you don't have a way to ping that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No signs of a struggle. And then the lack of surveillance at that critical moment. You've got cameras tracking her up until she leaves,
Yeah.
and then nothing. And, you have to rely on witness accounts, which are never great at all, anyways, but especially when your witnesses, have been partying or drinking.
And it's 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Mhm. Exactly. All of this that we've talked about just makes this puzzle. And I can't imagine being her family or even the ones that were with her, if they had nothing to do with it, how often that would keep you up at night.
Mm-hmm.
All of the what ifs.
Yeah.
One additional thing, Lauren's case got a lot of media coverage, which sometimes can help, but also can lead to misinformation spreading, rumors, false leads, all of that comes in. At one point, an anonymous blog claimed to know that Lauren overdosed and that she was put in the Ohio River. It turned out to be baseless, but that happens a lot. And it happened a lot in her case where they're getting what seems like it might be a good lead or a good tip, and it's just completely unfounded or wrong. I mean, at the center of the story is Lauren. Her smile's beautiful. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman. She had her whole life ahead of her, at this point in time.
Yeah.
She would be in her 30s. She, could be working in fashion, maybe living in New York by her family. And it just is incredibly tragic that she never made it home that night, or that all of the what ifs all along the way. One friend wrote, "Not a day goes by that I don't think about Lauren." Her parents are advocates for missing persons and for campus safety. They have a website, which is still up to this day, about Lauren. They have a Facebook page where they post updates. They had a recent update that was the 14-year anniversary update, and just shattered my heart reading her mom's thoughts on going 14 years and not finding out what happened. And, part of the post said, "Before I know it's going to be 15 years." And it just is speeding by.
Yeah.
And we're just stuck in this awful loop. They also try to remind other young people to learn from what happened to Lauren, citing college campus safety, the buddy system, trying to instill how important it is to intervene if you see someone in trouble, to take care of your friends on nights out. Don't let them walk home alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just, you wish that it weren't this cautionary tale, but hopefully it is potentially keeping other people from being in this same situation.
Yeah.
As of 2025, like we said, it's been 14 years. The case is still open, and her family is still waiting for that phone call that could change everything. And again, like we've said in other cases, sometimes the smallest tip, the smallest piece of remembered information can break it open. Maybe you're thinking, well, I wasn't in Bloomington in 2011. What could I possibly know? Which is fair, but perhaps you know someone who was, or you've heard a rumor that maybe didn't connect until rehearing her case. Maybe you've heard it before,
Yeah.
hearing it again. I don't know. Maybe in the future you come across information related. If you do, no matter how small or insignificant it seems, please report it. Sometimes the tiniest detail can be the missing piece that investigators need. If you have any information about Lauren Spierer's disappearance, you can contact the Bloomington Police Department. They have a 24-hour tip line at 812-339-4477. You can also email them. We'll link in the show notes a link to her family's website, which had 4 different places that you could send information. They also have their private investigators information on there as well. And yes, there is still a reward available for information that leads to answers. I want to echo something that Lauren's mom wrote not long after Lauren went missing. She said, "If anyone has any information about the disappearance of our daughter, Lauren Spierer, please contact us. We continue to search for answers, as always, hoping today is the day." And today could be that day. It just takes one person coming forward. And then, as we wrap it up, remember to take care of each other. This case is just such a reminder of how quickly a fun night can turn into a nightmare. Watch out for your friends when you go out.
Yeah.
If someone's in a bad state, don't let them leave.
Mm-hmm.
If a friend tries to walk home drunk, be the person who says, "Nope, not happening." Whether you have them crash at your place or whatever it is, I know it's easy to think nothing bad will happen. And most of the time, nothing bad does happen.
Yeah.
But it only takes one time.
Yep.
So that is the story of Lauren Spierer. Have you guys heard that one?
No,
No.
not. That's really sad.
It is sad. It
It
really
does.
hurts.
Yeah. It
Mhm.
feels like a bunch of the other cases that we've had for
Mm-hmm.
missing people. There's just no, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many questions
Mm-hmm.
And so many what ifs.
and so little answers.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the thing with this one. I mean, like some of the others too, but there's just no evidence,
Nothing.
nothing.
Just vanishing.
Even with this full search, this full investigation, so many people involved in trying to find out what happened
Yeah.
and
Just
no
nothing.
answers. Yeah.
So crazy
Yeah.
how that can be. That it's just wild that
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing.
Yeah.
It is heartbreaking. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of Crime Clueless. If you want to read more about Lauren's case or see the resources that were used to create it, you can find it linked on our website, crimeclueless.com, under blog. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would appreciate if you would take a minute just to give us a quick rating. Scroll down on Apple to the bottom, you'll see the 5 stars. You can do that. You can do it on Spotify at the top. There's 3 dots. Click it. Leave us a rating. It really helps us reach more listeners and grow our community. If you found this episode interesting, you can find Crime Clueless on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and all major streaming platforms. Go ahead and share it with someone else who maybe needs the reminder or, or that you want to share it with. That always means the world to us.
Yep.
And as always, remember, refuse to be clueless, careless, or caught off guard.
Not today, murders.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.